I want you to imagine for a few minutes that you were 9 or 10 years old. And when you were 9 or 10 years old, things that were important to you were probably maybe a baseball game, or collecting Pokemon cards, or watching videos. Finding out who was going to sit with you at lunch was a big deal when you were in 4th and 5th grade. So now imagine that you're 9 or 10 years old and you have a difference. Andrew was born with a facial difference. He was born missing his mandible, and he was born without a tongue. He looked very different than other kids, and kids picked up on that right away. So for him, being 9 or 10 years old was a very, very isolating experience. He often had difficulty making friends. He often sat alone at lunch. The entire 4th grade, Andrew didn't have a friend. He would come home at the end of the day and relate these stories to me, which broke my heart. So that summer I decided that I would send him to summer camp. And he was not happy about that. The first week of summer camp, I literally carried Andrew onto the bus to go to summer camp. He was kicking and screaming and yelling, and every day I waved goodbye to the bus and he was sitting in the bus crying, and I thought, oh God, what have I done? The second week of summer camp sessions, he came home on a Monday and I said, how was camp? And he said, well, it wasn't so bad today. I was sitting at lunch with my counselor and she started talking to me about Pokemon cards and video games. And Mom, all of a sudden other kids wanted to know about Pokemon cards and video games. And I said, wow, that's awesome. And he said, yeah, it was a pretty good day. So the next day he came home and had a similar experience where this counselor drew some kids into his world and created an environment where he could talk to kids about things that they knew about. I think the more they knew about him, the more they realized he was more like them than different from them. His self-confidence grew. He talked more and more about new counselors that he met, and somebody picked me for their team, Mom, and it was just amazing. And I just watched him turn from this shy, timid little boy into this very self-confident teenager who really felt good about himself. And that confidence came from being part of a bigger picture and being part of a bigger group. And camp really facilitated that for Andrew. He calls it his special place. He says, Mom, it's the one place I know I go and nobody is making fun of me. Nobody is staring at me. Nobody is, making me feel different. Andrew went on to become a junior counselor, and then he became a counselor. And it's been just an amazing journey for him. And I totally attribute his ability and where he is today to that summer back when he was 9 years old. I want other children to have that experience that Andrew had. And I want other counselors to have the experience of working with children who changed their lives. One of the things that I really love about the YMCA camp is that there's so many different kinds of kids at camp, and they do try to get kids to connect. Andrew certainly brings that to camp, and he's taught other people to be looking for those differences, and how do you help someone feel part of a group, and how do you make somebody feel comfortable when they're a little bit timid or afraid. Those are the kinds of things that make the YMCA just this magical place for me.